Hey out there, guys and gals. Welcome back to Plastic Action Jockeys. I'm Jockey 7, and today we are going to be bringing you a 1/6 scale action figure review of Speed Silver, which is, of course, Quicksilver from the current generation of X-Men films. Okay, so to kick things off here, Speed Silver was made by SooSoo Toys, which is a lesser known action figure maker, and I actually think this is their first action figure release, given that his release number is SS-001. Speed Silver is an unlicensed action figure, hence the Speed Silver name instead of accurately being named Quicksilver. Although on the side of the art box it does say Quicksilver, and on the front it says Speed Silver. Anytime you are dealing with any kind of unlicensed action figure, questions of quality will immediately, come to mind. But in the case of this figure, I really believe that he's of very high quality, and he's one of the nicest non-licensed action figures that I have purchased to date. So Quicksilver has been represented, ironically, in both of the Fox X-Men movie series and the Marvel Cinematic Universe in the Avengers series. Different approaches to that character were taken in both of those film series, and what results from each approach is a widely more popular version in the X-Men series played by Evan Peters. Um, Speed Silver bears an excellent likeness to Evan Peters in the head and the face, and SooSoo Toys did a wonderful job on this sculpt. It's immediately recognizable as Mr. Peters and the Quicksilver character from X-Men Days of Future Past. He has soft rooted hair that is a nice shiny silver color, just like in the film. The hair, you can comb it, or it can be fairly easily posed underneath the goggles that you see are included, and they're also completely removable. They have an elastic strap, so they're easy to put on and take off the head without, messing the hair all up or screwing it up. The figure looks great with the goggles on or off. Um, I like the goggles on thanks to the clear eyepieces and that are really sized well so that none of his eyes are obscured at all when the goggles are on. It's a pretty good job on the goggles. The Speed Silver figure is on a standard 1/6 scale figure body with all the articulation that you would expect from any other 1/6 scale action figure. His joints were tight, but they didn't feel like the figure was going to break when I was trying to pose him. His jeans and his jacket, they fit in pretty well. They restrict his movements at certain points, after pardon me, after certain points of movement, but no more so than like any Hot Toys figure outfit that I've encountered thus far. And the fit of the jeans reminded me of the Origins Wolverine figure and how the jeans fit on that figure. It was pretty similar, and the T-shirt obviously doesn't restrict any movement, but the jacket can a little bit, especially in the sleeves. If you wanted to try to bend the arms out, you get a little tightness in the shoulders and at the elbow area with the jacket. Um, Speed Silver's outfit, though, is equally impressive as well, with his Pink Floyd T-shirt on, and it is the Pink Floyd shirt with the little Dark Side of the Moon logo on it. His silver Converse shoes that do have the Converse logo on the side, the star with the what is it, the greater than symbol, I suppose. And his blue jeans and the silver biker style jacket that he's wearing, which is nice and shiny on the figure. It looks pretty good. One note, though, I did notice that the jacket sleeves down at the wrist, they left a little bit of silver residue on the hands that were on the figure when it was opened. Now, I have switched the hands on his right hand, and thus far, after several weeks, I have not noticed any silver residue yet. But after a while, it could potentially be an issue. So the Speed Silver figure also has his Walkman and headphones, which he wears in the signature scene in Days of Future Past in the kitchen at the Pentagon. Great scene. The headphones are a little tricky to get on the ears, I found, but they have little clips that will allow you to place the headphones on the ears if you have patience and can get them underneath the hair and then around the ears. It was a little tricky, but I was able to do it, although, as you'll notice in the picture, I have them hanging on the shirt. I found it was a little easier to have them hang there and clip them on the shirt than it was to clip them on the ears, especially with the goggles on. The Speed Silver has other accessories as well. We talked about the goggles, but he has the goggles. He has a handheld radio on his belt. He has a roll of duct tape on the belt and a waist pouch on the belt, as well as another uh, radio device on the other side of his belt in the back. So the only other included accessories that he has, though, are two extra set of hands and one extra set of wrist pegs in case you break any of those off. Although I found the hands to be pretty pliable going on the wrist pegs, and the wrist pegs weren't especially fragile like some of them can be. So that was a good thing as far as for durability's sake. A lot of times the wrist pegs can get a little brittle, or the hands can, and these didn't seem to have that problem thus far. The Speed Silver figure also includes a figure stand, which is really no big deal, but in this case it's rather impressive, I thought, as far as figure stands go. So it has a top patterned metal layer that is actually metal with a large X in the middle, and then two pieces of swooshed like air that have magnets in the bottom that you can attach to the top of the stand to make it look as though he's moving air by moving so quickly, or he's kicking up air when he's starting to run or whatever, kind of like a Wile E. Coyote type deal. And I was pretty surprised about that, and it looks pretty good, and actually adds a little bit more displayability to the figure just on his regular stand, as opposed to trying to put him in a diorama or something like that. The last thing we want to really talk about with the figure is his box. So let's touch on the box a little bit. As you can see in the video here, it's got a nice art box on the front with a good picture of the figure and a almost a drawing type painting look, which is kind of similar to what Hot Toys has done with some of the Civil War boxes in a way. Got a big X logo behind him. His name, Speed Silver, in big letters, actually, embossed in silver, which is pretty cool. The art box is, I was very reminiscent of a Hot Toys with the art on the front, and of course, it's got your typical plastic trays inside that seal the figure and not let him move, in transit or while it's being, transported. Now the box wasn't quite as thick as far as like the card stock. A Hot Toys box has fairly thick card stock, and it makes the boxes feel a little bit more substantial, in my opinion. This box does not quite have that thick card stock, so it didn't, it felt a little flimsier than a Hot Toys box, but it did have the insert piece that covers the plastic trays, just like all the Hot Toys figures do. And the Sideshow figures have that now as well. But the box also isn't as thick or as tall, I guess, as a Hot Toys box. So it just was close to being, on the level of Hot Toys quality, but not quite there. That being said, it's still a box, and it displays well if you choose to have that, like behind the figure as a backdrop, or if you, or somebody who displays boxes with your figures, you can still, get this out there, and it won't look out of place next to a Hot Toys box if you want to do it that way. So with Marvel, movie character figures being oh so popular, and Fox, of course, refusing to license anybody out there except for Wolverine, which gives you then multiple Wolverine figures and nobody else from the X-Men universe, there's going to be more and more of these unlicensed figures from various manufacturers coming out. Now right now we already have Xavier and we have Magneto, both young and old of each character. We have Cyclops, the older version, the James Marsden version, and we have a Storm figure, the Halle Berry version, that are all either released now or are releasing soon. And these are all welcome additions to a lot of 1/6 scale collections, I think, as these other action figure makers can capitalize on the lack of X-Men figures. It makes collectors happy because you can get Avengers and you can get Spider-Mans, but you can't get any X-Men other than Wolverine, and there's of course tons of cool characters. So this is kind of a welcome thing, and I think that obviously when you buy any unlicensed figure, of course, and all these figures that I mentioned aren't made by the same manufacturer. They're not made by SooSoo. They're made by other manufacturers. Questions of quality are going to come into play, so obviously you're going to have to do a little bit of homework before you decide it's okay to purchase a figure. But if they have quality of this Speed Silver figure then they're all worth purchasing, in my opinion. So obviously, you always have the concern because they don't have a track record like Hot Toys or Sideshow, but the Speed Silver figure is really on par with a Hot Toys release, and doesn't look remotely out of place with any other Hot Toys Marvel figure if you display them together. I would fully recommend purchasing this action figure, especially if you can find an e-tailer site that has them for 150 or less. I purchased the review sample for 150 on eBay. I have noticed that several e-tailers are back-ordered or waiting for another shipment that's supposed to come in later in the spring, but the figure is fairly available on eBay. But it's a figure worth purchasing given the sculpt and the way the costume is made. It doesn't feel cheap in any way. It's got individual accessories included with it as well. Some that are removable, some that are not. The belt accessories are fairly static on the belt. Although the headphones you can take off and put on the figure, and they do even have a cord that runs to the Walkman. But it's a figure worth purchasing for sure, in my opinion, and I would say if you can get one, snatch it up before they dry up. But that's going to conclude our Speed Silver 1/6 scale action figure review today. Thank you for watching. If you liked what you saw in this video, please like and subscribe to our channel, and please feel free to leave comments or any questions you have as well. Thanks.